Welcome back to Demo Demonic, where I spotlight upcoming indie horror projects that you can play right now. Sorry it's been a while since I've uploaded to the old Red Herb. Life's been busy the last few weeks. Between long sessions of dying in Night Rain, Oh, come on, it's only night one! I've also taken a crack at learning Unity in the hopes of being able to make my own indie game before I turn 50. Check out my progress. Hi, this is Kevin, and this is my Unity Essentials project. I put together these rooms. I didn't make them. There's a lot of prefabricated stuff here, but I put things in places like that and like that. Didn't quite get the herb right there. You play as an alien, and you collect some gems. Oh, that should be making a sound. It's not making a sound. I don't know why that's not working. There's physics. I gotta work on the mass. This took me 1,400 hours. I think that's the average for a learning project. But it's awesome. You can do anything in the world of video games. For example, I made Zach Bagans my sky.
This is absolutely amazing.
Aaron's here too. Admittedly, it's going to be a while before I become Warren Spector. Oh, and all attention was on E3, but not E3 last week. Sony's State of Play showed off more Silent Hill F, focusing on the game's crunchy-looking combat. Is that hit stop in my Silent Hill? Now that's my kind of Monster Hunter. And then there's this.
Everyone's gone.
Stay away from that!
Oh shit! Jeff Keighley's Summer Jamboree gave us the goods! Resident Evil Requiem, a brand new entry in the franchise that coined the term survival horror. There's so much to unpack from this trailer alone. We're returning to a bombed-out Raccoon City. We're playing as an FBI agent named Grace Ashcroft, who's, get this, Alyssa Ashcroft's daughter. Now, Resident Evil Outbreak fans might recognize...
Stop!
What?
Listen to me, alright? Stay with us.
Oh my god, Zach, you're right. Demo Demonic isn't about upcoming AAA horror games. It's about indie horror games, god damn it. I don't care if you get to play as Billy Cohen's parole officer in RE9, or Barry Burton's barber, who understandably closed up shop in 1998. I've got a job to do. Let's play some fucking demos.
We are starting right now.
Once again, I've left a link for each game in the description. If one of these games even looks mildly cool, give it a wink and a wish list. Or just a wish list. That's also fine. Let's start with an old school bang. Phase Zero's like classic Resident Evil from another mother. That mother being Spina Studio, a Polish developer made up of industry veterans who've worked on games like Superhot, Dying Light, and Cyberpunk 2077. Instead of using their AAA experience to create yet another doomed extraction shooter, they're using their powers for good by making a retro-tinged survival horror game. We've seen indies nail the PS1 aesthetic before, but Phase Zero nails it, hammers it, and builds a house with it. Between the stylish camera angles, wonderfully articulated 3D models, and the fully pre-rendered backgrounds, it feels like the game was frozen in the 90s and Spina just thought it out to finish it. Set in 1994, you play as either a guy named Guy or a girl named Mary, who are trapped in the town of Flint Peak, located a few miles next to absolutely nothing, which is a bad zip code to be in during a zombie outbreak. The duo have to survive the night and figure out why there's cancerous masses of flesh overtaking the town and skin husk lying around. I don't like that. The demo takes place in this inhospitable hospital where Guy has to navigate around shoeless, finding keys, puzzling out puzzles, and dodging the undead. Because the game sits on the Resident Evil side of the survival horror spectrum, you can fend off the residents with a trusty boomstick, so long as you have the ammo. Interestingly, you can auto-aim, but you can't aim up or down in your axis, which is sort of reminiscent of the aiming system in Dino Crisis. The shooting feels pretty good, but I will say the auto-targeting has trouble finding a priority target when you're facing a small horde. Hint: I want to shoot the one about to bite me. You'll have to manage your supplies carefully, but in a rare kindness for this genre, key items are kept in their own menu tab instead of eating up an inventory slot, so you don't have to choose between survival or progress. The game also highlights what's interactable when you get in range and indicates whether or not a door is locked by changing color. It's clear the developers are trying to sand off some of the genre's rougher edges, especially for players that tend to get lost, but purists might prickle at these quality of life features. You do have the option to turn off highlighting if this isn't your first rodeo, though. After all, part of the fun and tension of classic survival horror is getting lost in the dark and having to find your own way out. All in all, I came away from Phase Zero's short demo deeply impressed. Spina Studio's love for classic survival horror is apparent, and so's their craftsmanship. I'd probably say the phrase grotesquely beautiful too much, but sure as hell fits. No release date yet, but if you're a Resident Evil obsessive like me, this is a day one buy. Becrowned is an upcoming throwback made by 13th Street Studio that tackles psychological themes and plays with surreal imagery, firmly landing it on the Silent Hill side of the survival horror spectrum. Here's what the survival horror spectrum looks like, by the way. Yeah, it's right. It's right. You play as Richard Torrance, a strong-willed but unhappy man who drifts into a nightmarish world dotted with macabre monsters and lost souls. The game's strongest asset is its brooding art design, throwing players into a dark, decrepit, and highly detailed environment. The demo's starting location resembles a ruined Soviet asylum with an atmosphere that could choke you. The developers say they've blended modern tech with retro visuals in order to capture both the world's beauty and horror. I agree, it's grotesquely On the gameplay front, it's a survival horror rundown. You'll search for keys, manage your staticky inventory, solve head scratchers, collect disturbing files, and tangle with sauntering ghouls. Your modest arsenal lets you cut or blast your way to safety, but Richard is weak, and resources are scarce, making avoidance your best friend. Given how stiff the combat is, it's probably better to get your steps in anyway. While Becrowned's mechanics stick close to formula in order to invoke the feeling of retro horror, the developer promises a non-linear story that's reactive to your in-game choices. You can elect to help other folks who are trapped in this Jacob's Ladder dimension with you at the cost of your own supplies. Will you make Richard a hero, or make Richard a dick? One caveat to keep in mind is that the demo available on Steam is based on an alpha build of the game. I personally ran into some haphazard jank like overpowering screen distortion, and toward the very end of my session, I was obliterated during a forced cutscene. Everything from animation to in-game text has yet to be finalized. If you want a fresher look at the game, I've linked the latest trailer in the description. But even this early on, Becrowned shows a ton of promise, especially for horror fans looking for a good mindfuck. No release date yet, but the game got itself a publisher in Top Hat Studios. They recently helped launch Labyrinth of the Demon King, and that's been getting high marks, so hopefully 13th Street will get the support it needs to make Becrowned the best bad time it can be. I bet you're thinking, Mr. the Red Herb, you sure do cover a lot of survival horror throwbacks. You can't stop this. No one can stop. Okay, fine, let's switch it up. How about a throwback to orthogonal dungeon crawlers from the 80s, but with a modern horror twist? Yeah, now we're getting weird with it. Lurks Within Walls is a horror RPG made by Here Be Monsters and features creatures designed by Trevor Henderson. If you don't know the name, you've probably seen his art. He created the creepypasta Nasty's Cartoon Cat and Siren Head. He also wrote Scare Waves if you want a good night's lack of sleep. The game's roots can be traced all the way back to titles like Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord, which I absolutely had to Google because I'm from the generation they stopped teaching cursive to. Instead of a medieval dungeon, you're trapped in a quarantine building affected by an indescribable force, and it's made the neighbors less neighborly. The game employs a unique mix of survival horror resource management and turn-based combat. You have to scrounge for weapons and healing items in this residential labyrinth so that you can endure grueling battles with morbid monstrosities. But thanks to the sphere from Sphere, if it were made of flesh, you'll get bodily upgrades like more HP and even literal bone claws so you can slash your way through a fight like James Hallett. I just wish enemies were a little more visually reactive to your attacks because, as is, it feels like you're tossing damage numbers at an art asset until it just kind of disappears. Just make him shake a little bit. Look at him go. Look at that guy. Still, I can't resist this nasty peanut butter chocolate combination. The limited range of movement fosters some truly unnerving moments where I would turn a corner and run into whatever the fuck this is. The game's always had my heart in my throat just as often as whatever the fuck that is. The full game sees you playing as residents and police officers navigating multiple paths across a building while trying to keep out of harm's way. which, as you can imagine, will be hard to do. With a bit of strategy and a few makeshift weapons, you might just survive what lurks in the dark. Definitely looking forward to this weirdie. Its art style is grotesquely good. It's grotesquely good. Guess when it's coming out? Alright, how about something really different? Silly Polly Beast, developed by Anji and also published by Top Hat, is a story-driven action horror adventure where you have to shoot your way out of the underworld. It features stylish art design and a mix of side-scrolling and top-down viewpoints. You play as Polly, a 17-year-old runaway who accidentally stumbles into hell. Now in prison, she has to make a pact with a strange deity called the Tormented in order to get free. But the cost of that freedom are the heads of 3 demon lords. As a newly minted huntress, you'll run through the underworld, smash obstacles, gun down hellions, and collect chocolate bars for your hell. There's a nice ebb and flow to the combat where you have to kill to get ammo for your revolver, kill to get steel messengers for your demolver. But if you run empty before reloading, you'll have to rely on your skateboard to smack down these ember creatures, or get smacked yourself. Because you have a stamina restriction, you have to be just as evasive as you are offensive during scraps. You also obtain some interesting means of traversal, like this bit where Polly grows fly wings and has to propel herself across a chasm using the force of her gunshots. The full release promises to add more powers to Polly's kit to help her with both exploration and combat. It's hard to describe how cool the visual design is in motion, and I don't have to. I could just show you. Look. But it's not just the striking art, it's the play feel, which is immediately snappy and surprisingly polished. It kind of reminds me of a game you'd find on Xbox Live Arcade back in the day, a really focused, really playable title with charming visuals that could end up being a low-key favorite. If the rest of the game is as imaginative and fun as the demo, I think this will be a surefire hit. It's coming in 2025. Alright, I'm starting the Jones for another throwback. Developer Dual Effect entered the world of survival horror back in 2021 with Tormented Souls, a well-regarded love letter to both Alone in the Dark and Resident Evil. They're back with a direct sequel that continues the misadventures of Miss Caroline Walker, one of the best-dressed women in horror.
Yeah, they say slay.
In an attempt to cure her younger sister of an affliction that grants her the ability to bring horrible monsters to life through her drawings. Wait, what? Man, I really should have finished the first game. The Walker siblings end up at a sequestered convent in the mountains of Chile, but it soon becomes clear that these nuns have bad habits. Caroline is then thrust into another desperate fight for survival, armed with only her wits and a carpenter's arsenal of construction tools. Tormented Souls 2 retains a fixed perspective exploration of the original game, but with a noticeable upgrade in visual fidelity. There's a jaw-dropping amount of environmental detail showcased here, bolstered by stunning lighting effects. You could make a portrait of any random screenshot from the game. A portrait of suffocating isolation, but all the same, a very pretty picture. The lighting tech isn't just for show either. It's a mechanic. The shadows can harm you if you're not near a light source, which forces you to switch away from a firearm to your lighter if you want to make it through the dark. Luckily, you can illuminate areas by lighting candles or flipping power switches, but sometimes it'll just be you, your lighter, and something breathing in the back of your neck. Tormented Souls is a tough but fair challenge where avoidance is king. These skinny fucks soak up rounds like a rag, and Caroline's range of movement can be limiting when she's in her action stance, so it's often smarter to avoid than to attack. That's not to say you're totally helpless. In the demo, you're able to upgrade your nail gun's fire rate, and by backtracking, you can get a powerful shotgun. After a little bit of bell tower percussion, you can assign weapon and item shortcuts to keep you out of the menu during a tussle. You even have a little dodge that can help you avoid a slap or two. Just like the classics, your ability to save is finite, determined by how many tapes you have on hand to use at a recorder. When you do find a save room, Caroline will recap the story so far. It's a nice touch. The game's challenge also permeates in its puzzle design. Some of the items you find require a keen eye to unravel how they work, while others can be used in ways that aren't immediately apparent until you hit the eureka moment. It's actually pretty sick how your hammer can be used both in combat and in puzzles. How many times have you run into a padlock in a game and thought, why can't I just break it with one of my weapons? Dual Effect obviously had the same thought. Some puzzles dive into that esoteric territory horror fans love to hit their heads against. Let's just say there's no harder boss than a lack of chess knowledge. I think the puzzle gave up on me. After about an hour spent with the demo, I came away far more excited for the sequel than I thought I'd be. I liked the original well enough, but something about it just didn't hook me. Tormented Souls II, on the other hand, already feels like a huge step up from its predecessor. It's a more confident mixture of retro design with modern game-making techniques. Plus, its graphics are immaculate. This is dated for 2025, and unlike every other game I've mentioned, it's also coming to consoles. Tenebris Somnia. Hang on.
Tenebris.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably right. Tenebris Somnia is a fascinating little game made by Andre Borghi and Cybot Studios. Borghi released a horror-themed fighting game back in 2021 called The Black Heart, which he single-handedly developed over the course of 7 years. Good God, maybe I should get into accounting. And Cybot Studios worked on a series of immersive horror adventures called Doorways before releasing a couple of indie shooters. Smash together the 2D talents of Borghi with the horror focus of Cybot, and you get yourself this, a 2D survival horror adventure that looks like it belongs on an NES cartridge. Do you guys say NES? I say NES sometimes. The mission statement for the game is to adapt classics like Silent Hill and Resident Evil into a retro 2D environment. From the 30-minute demo, I'd say they succeeded. Not only is there an emphasis on exploration, you've got resource management, multi-step puzzles, and fight-or-flight combat. It's the full survival horror package, just translated to a 2D plane. The adventure game roots are evident too, as investigating the environment reveals more and more of the game's intriguing story. You play as a woman searching her ex-boyfriend's apartment. The two were aspiring filmmakers before their split, but now he's mysteriously split, leaving behind only camera equipment and occulty residue. Before you can call cut, the main character stumbles into another dimension, which feeds off of your ex's memories and happens to be filled with horrible fucking wraiths. Just, average breakup shit. But the really cool thing here are the live-action cutscenes interspersed throughout the game, featuring real actors and real nasty ghouls brought to life. But because we live in a hot hellhole where we can't even trust our own eyes, internet commenters had to ask if these segments were produced by Gen AI. The game's publisher affirmed that Gen AI was not and will never be used in the game. This is classic movie-making magic at work, put together by industry professionals, including camera operators, makeup artists, VFX wizards, the works. In other words, the cutscenes were made using actual artistry. It's no surprise that New Blood decided to publish this bad boy. They've made a career out of curating rad shit, and so far, Tenebris Somnia is no exception. The art's great, the cinematics are creepy, and there's a menacing goth mommy who loves candles. They even got the developer of Faith to lend a hand. It's got everything going for it, except the release date. As always, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a wink and a like. Or just a like, I'm not greedy on that front. Oh, and if I time this video right, it should be Steam Next Fest, where you can check out a bunch of indie demos yourself. If you end up playing anything cool, scary, or fun, let me know. Now, we get to watch the RE9 trailer again. Is that Leon? Is that Leon? Oh shit, is that Leon?